Obama admin nailed with official charges, Navy sailor says I won't be silenced. If it is indeed true that justice delayed is justice denied, then former Navy sailor Kristian Saucier has indeed been denied justice in every sense. Saucier was pardoned by President Donald Trump earlier this year in March 2018 after completing his sentence. The former Navy sailor pleaded guilty in 2016 to mishandling classified information for taking 6 cell phone photos of a classified engine room aboard the USS Alexandria in 2009 while it was stationed in Groton, Connecticut, and serving 12 months in federal prison. The ex-sailor has now filed a lawsuit against alleging that he was subject to unequal protection of the law, citing former FBI Director James Comey and former President Barack Obama and their unwillingness to prosecute former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. According to Fox News, Saucier's lawsuit names as defendants former President Barack Obama, former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, former FBI Director James Comey, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and Peter Strzok, the FBI agent who led the inquiry into Clinton's email account. It seems Saucier is now attempting to get at least a portion of that justice previously denied to him, stating the United States government was overzealous in prosecuting him for mishandling classified information while refusing to prosecute Clinton for a significantly more serious violation of the same law. As the recent testimony in the hearings before the House Oversight Committee demonstrated, significant bias was shown to Clinton with regards to her handling of classified information. Saucier's legal team raised the defense at trial that most recently, Democratic presidential candidate and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, has come under scrutiny for engaging in acts similar to Mr. Saucier. The FBI was merely critical of Clinton's homebrew setup, as attorney Derek Hogan noted. However, the FBI recently recommended Mrs. Clinton not be brought up on any charges as she lacked intent. Hogan argued on Saucier's behalf at his trial, stating, "It will be unjust and unfair for Mr. Saucier to receive any sentence other than probation for a crime those more powerful than him will likely avoid." Except Clinton is still free, and Saucier paid with a year of his life. A year that his daughter was without a father, his wife without her husband, his mother without her son. Saucier acknowledged that he was aware that the pictures he took were classified. Saucier states he realizes he had erred in taking the photos of the submarine, which he said he wanted to show only to his family so that they could see where he worked. He also points out photos were also taken by 2 co-workers inside the sub who were not prosecuted at all. Meanwhile, Clinton even to this day continues to maintain ignorance, stating she did not believe any of the information she received via email ought to have been protected, despite being the wife of a former governor and former president, as well as serving as a senator and Secretary of State in her own right. Despite the ignorance Clinton still feigns regarding how to handle classified information, it was revealed through Peter Strzok's testimony that every single one of her emails, all 30,000, save 4, were being sent to an address believed to belong to a foreign entity unrelated to Russia. It is important to note, the photos Saucier took with his phone were deemed to be confidential, which is considered the lowest level of classification. By contrast, Clinton was storing Special Access Program (SAP) documents on her unsecured private server. It is important to note that SAP documents are classified above top secret. This means documents with this classification are subject to exceptionally stringent safeguards, including non-electronic copies which require physical access in some cases. According to Executive Order 13526, signed by Obama in 2009 and details the proper handling and protection protocols that must be observed to protect classified national security information, intelligence is allocated to a special access program when the vulnerability of, or threat to, specific information is exceptional. Intelligence Community Inspector General Charles McCulloch III wrote in a January 2016 letter, "To date, I have received 2 sworn declarations from one intelligence community element. These declarations cover several dozen emails containing classified information determined by the IC element to be at the confidential, secret, and top secret, SAP levels." Saucier spoke of his newly filed lawsuit, stating, "I could have just taken the pardon by President Trump and gone on with my life. The U.S. Constitution clearly states that all citizens are born with inalienable rights to be free from persecution by the government. My conviction and subsequent sentence for a minor military infraction compared to the treatment of politically connected individuals is a glaring example of a violation of the rights of all Americans to have equal protection under the law." Saucier adds that he feels a significant obligation to get to the truth of what he sees as a double standard that let Clinton get off scot-free. As H.L. Mencken wrote, "The notion that a radical is one who hates his country is naive and usually idiotic. He is, more likely, one who likes his country more than the rest of us, and is thus more disturbed than the rest of us when he sees it debauched. He is not a bad citizen turning to crime, he is a good citizen driven to despair. What you allow will continue." And it seems Saucier will have an uphill battle as the state of New York is fighting back, now forcing Saucier to act as his own attorney. This comes after the Appellate Division of the New York State Supreme Court New York filed sanctions against his attorney, Ronald Daigle, barring him practicing law for 1 year. This came just as Daigle was helping Saucier to file the lawsuit. Daigle is an Iraq War veteran with the U.S. Navy and the former police chief of his town of Granville, New York, and came out of retirement in 2016 in an effort to assist Saucier to win a pardon from President Trump. According to Fox News, the appellate court determined Daigle, an Iraq War veteran with the U.S. Navy and the former police chief of his town of Granville, New York, had taken $23,000 from the estate of a deceased person without a retainer or authorization to take the funds. Relatives and a primary beneficiary of the deceased person had hired Daigle in 2011 to handle the estate. Saucier told Fox News Daigle's suspension blindsided both of them. He said he will proceed with his lawsuit even if he must represent himself. Saucier said he cannot afford an attorney. But Saucier believes there is more to the suspension than meets the eye, and wonders if it's driven by an effort to hamper his plans to sue Obama administration officials. Out of the blue, the court decided to come after Ron for his license for a year, the window I have for my lawsuit, and they announced it after we announced my case, Saucier said. "It's a liberal court system, trying to dismember my legal defense. It's a shame, it's retribution. They've backed us into a corner so that I won't be able to file the lawsuit. They're trying to silence us," Saucier said. "Ron doesn't deserve this. I won't be silenced. If I have to go to court and represent myself, act as my own lawyer, I will. I'm not going to be strong-armed. I guess the only time most people think about injustice is when it happens to them." As H.L. Mencken wrote, "The notion that a radical is one who hates his country is naive and usually idiotic. He is, more likely, one who likes his country more than the rest of us, and is thus more disturbed than the rest of us when he sees it debauched. He is not a bad citizen turning to crime, he is a good citizen driven to despair. What you allow will continue." Saucier's mother, Kathleen Saucier, has stood strong by her son's side through this fight, taking to every media outlet available to her in an effort to make her voice heard, speaking for her son while he was unable to speak for himself. She started a Facebook page documenting Saucier's fight for equal justice under the law called American Patriots Against Double Standards. In the pinned post on her page, she sums up why we as Americans must continue to fight against tyranny and fight for justice. Many of you have asked who is behind American Patriots Against